Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, can Paul George finally break his playoff curse for the Clippers? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, we have our Dreamerspro Max premium community, which is our own online sports community. It's a place where you go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games, go live with us after games, consume original content that you're going to be able to get nowhere else, and do so many amazing things. So if you guys want to check it out, make sure you check that out and get 7 days of free access. We have that in the link in the description below. People are beginning to sign up, and guys, you don't want to miss these games. You want to be a part of the games. For example, you know, we have we're going to be we pretty much chat every night depending on the games that are on, so make sure you don't miss out on that and check it out. Anyway, let me get into this topic here today. So I want to talk about Paul George. We haven't done a video on him in a while, and now it's the second half of the season, and as the months begin to progress, we're going to be getting closer and closer to the playoffs, and now, you know, the microscope is going to start going on players like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but more so Paul George for what happened last season in the Orlando bubble. We all remember what happened first of all, Paul George all of last season wasn't himself. He was up and down. He had 2 shoulder surgeries during the off season. We remember this. I think he missed the first 10 or 15 games for the Clippers. Came back. Some nights he looked really good. Some nights he didn't look so good. Then I think he had a hamstring issue that he was dealing with later in that season. And then of course we had the break. He was able to heal up. Then he went into the Orlando bubble where he looked really good. He was averaging like 25 points per game, shooting over 50% from the 3. And I was saying to myself, like, okay, this is the Paul George that we signed up for. Bearing in mind, though, that a lot of Clippers supporters at the time were telling me that they didn't trust Paul George. Now, I don't know if that had to do with anxiety or they just didn't trust him to begin with. So went into the playoffs and he completely just crumbled under the pressure and he regressed. Like, I was looking at the guy, I'm like, this can't be the same guy that I was looking at in the bubble, because during the regular season, you could say he was being hampered by injuries. But when he was in the Orlando bubble, he was playing very well. So when his game just dropped off, and in some instances, y'all remember, there was some games Paul George refused to shoot. It was incredible. I was like, this guy is not even looking to shoot. He was playing defense, but he wasn't even shooting. So you could see that his confidence was really, really affected in the playoffs. So he had a very bad playoff run. You know, so this year there's a lot of things that we're going to be paying attention to. So that's why I said let's focus on Paul George. Now, we all know Paul George is one of the most talented players in basketball. I think we all know this. If you watch him play, it's easy to see that he's a 6'8", small forward. And on any given night, Paul George can be the best player on the floor against any team. On any given night, Paul George can be the best player on the floor. We saw that on opening night when they were playing against the Los Angeles Lakers, and he was the best player on the floor. He played the best on the floor. He played better than Kawhi, played better than LeBron, played better than Anthony Davis. Now, if you look at Paul George's career, he's a pretty accomplished guy. You know, he's a pretty accomplished guy, and we tend to forget that because of, you know, this recency bias that we have. The guy's a 7-time All-Star. He's been on 5 All-NBA teams, 4 All-Defensive teams, 2 second, 2 first. And he also won the Most Improved Player of the Year award in 2013, and he led the league in steals in 2019. In the final season with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he finished 3rd in MVP voting and top 3, I think, in Defensive Player of the Year. So Paul George is an amazingly talented, he's an amazingly talented basketball player, but he's played in the NBA for about 10 years now, but he's had some ups and downs in the playoffs. In his first 4 years in his career, when he was playing with the Indiana Pacers, Paul George had some very good playoff runs, like especially, you know, after his first year, he had some very deep playoff runs with the Indiana Pacers. In those runs, I think he played at least 18 to 19 games in the playoffs that year. If I go back and look at his numbers with the Indiana Pacers, his second season in the league, we're talking about his playoffs now, he played 11 games in the playoff, but that was his second year, so he really wasn't himself. His third year in 2012, 2013, he averaged 19 points per game, 43% from the field, 33% from the three-point line, 73% from the free throw line, got you 7.4 rebounds, 5 assists, and got you 1.3 steals. That was in his what? That was in his third year. Fourth year, he averaged close to 23 points per game, shot 44% from the field, 40% from the free throw line, 79% from the free throw line. Got you what? 7.6 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 2.2 steals. Following season in 2015, 2016, he followed it up, and he just kept getting better and better and better in the playoffs. And Paul George has a lot of playoffs experience, right? It's not like as if he's a guy. He's not like a Devin Booker. I like to get on Devin Booker because him and Devin Booker had a spat earlier in the season. Devin Booker was talking his trash. Somebody that never even made it to the playoffs. It was the first time All-Star. Now all of a sudden talking smack to Paul George. Is the world we live in today, right? It's a brave new world. So it's not like a Devin Booker. This guy has playoff experience, and he has some good averages in the playoffs. But over the last 3 years, he's had some forgettable playoff runs. Let's just be honest. 2 with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the last one with the Los Angeles Clippers. As you remember, in his first year with the Oklahoma City Thunder, they lost in 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. They played only 6 games. He scored 24.7 points per game. He shot 40% from the field. That's not good. 40% from the field in the playoffs. He shot 36.5% from the 3, 86% from the free throw line. Got you 6 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and 1.3 steals. Those are not very good numbers. And in the following year, he followed it up with an even worse showing with an even worse showing in the playoffs, where he only played 5 games. Y'all remember that series? That was against, I think, the Portland Trailblazers when Damian Lillard hit that shot. Now, he had good numbers as far as scoring. He scored 28.6 points, but it's only in 5 games. He shot less than 44% from the field. He shot 32% from the three-point line, less than 82% from the free throw line. He did get you 8.6 rebounds and 3.6 assists and 1.4 steals, but he had a horrible showing. I think one of those games he had 9 points or something like that, or 11 points. It was terrible. Excuse me. And in last year's playoffs, we all know what happened, right? It was just completely forgettable. Now, Paul George vowed to have a bounce back season this year, and he's doing that with all intents and purposes. This year, he's averaging 23.5 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 5.4 assists. But what's more impressive is his three-point shooting this year. If we look at his three-point shooting this year, let me just go to his regular season numbers. This year, he's shooting 45.5% from the 3. He's shooting 49.5% from the field. That's the highest field goal percentage he's ever shot in his career. He's shooting 88% from the free throw line, getting you 6.1 rebounds, that's at 5.4 assists, and 1.2 steals. So from an efficiency standpoint, Paul George is having one of the best years of his career. So in that sense, he's bounced back. He's having a bounce back season, although the NBA season is not finished yet, and he still needs to complete the season. He still needs to complete the job. For most of the season, he was having a 50-40-90 season, right? For the most of the season, he was playing very well. But let's just face it, Paul George is going to be judged in the playoffs, right? That's when we're going to really understand if this guy truly can make up for the last 3 years of his performances in the playoffs, right? Especially last year. That's what we're going to be looking at. Can he make up for what he did last year in the playoffs? Because let's be honest, Kawhi didn't have a good Game 6 and Game 7, but Kawhi Leonard has been known to show up in the playoffs pretty much all the time. But Paul George last year did not have a good playoff run. Let's just be honest. There's no two ways about it. Had Paul George played a little bit better, or if he had played to the level that he's playing at this season, the Clippers would have been able to advance. I don't know if they would have won the title, but for sure they would have been able to close out the Denver Nuggets. But he was just horrendous in that series. He was horrendous in that series. He had one game when he had 30. The next game he disappeared. And I'm just like, no, he was just too up and down, too inconsistent. So this year, we're going to be looking to see if he's going to break through. And Paul George has been the butt of the jokes around the NBA this entire season. We all know this. Even Skip Bayless has admitted as much on Undisputed. He said that. So this year, we're going to be looking to see if Paul George can step up. And I don't know. And even me, I don't know if he's going to do it, but I'm very curious to see. Because if he does, let's say Paul George does have a bounce back year, which they will need him to have in the playoffs because it's going to be harder this year, because the West got better than it was last year. Let's just be honest, with the emergence of the Phoenix Suns, the Utah Jazz, and others. And, you know, the Dallas Mavericks are beginning to come back on. I think they have the number 8 seed in the Western Conference, if I'm not mistaken. If I just pull up the Western Conference standings here, the Dallas Mavericks are now in the playoff picture. So he's going to need to be on his A game this time around. And if he is, then he's going to be able to really exercise those demons and really help the Clippers break through and do something probably that they've never ever done before. So we're going to have our eyes, you know, focusing on Paul George, and I guess it's a wait and see game. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think Paul George can finally break his playoff curse with the Clippers and help this team break through? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.